Masculine Mindset Show. It's Adam Skoda. Today, I have my buddy Zach Zeller back on, and I'm stoked to interview him again because, quite frankly, you know, I really enjoyed that interview with you, Zach, on basically eliminating approach anxiety. If any of you have not heard that, I suggest you go check it out. And in fact, you guys, Zach is a smart motherfucker. Okay, so I really have to say all that to you right now. Like he knows his shit. If any of you want to work with him, I'll put his link in the show notes. And most importantly, today's topic is how to enhance your masculinity. And so, one of the biggest key tips in my life, Zach, is basically becoming internally validated. That for me is like number fucking one. Validate yourself. Learn to never place any one woman as your purpose. Put yourself as number one. I always promote healthy self entitlement. My listeners know this already, and basically just being your own man, following your own lead, knowing what you want to do in your life, having like a vision, like a direction, and like a destiny, if you will. And that's fucking key, man. So let me know if there's anything that has helped you with enhancing your masculinity in your life. So my listeners would love to hear it.
Yeah, so appreciate the epic introduction. And yeah, just to give you some background, a lot of what I do, I'm definitely not a dating coach. Um, I had my period of dating around, and then I decided that I wanted a long-term girlfriend for that stability and to find someone to really build an empire with. And I found that, and that's great. And now I'm focusing a ton on business, on using the same psychological concepts to help people with their marketing and growing their businesses. And for me, when I when I think about this, especially with the self-validation and having a mission, none of that came all at once for me. And I think as a man and as you're building it up, it can often feel like an all or nothing process where you look at someone and you're like, oh shit, like Elon Musk, he's going to Mars. Like that's huge, right? But he didn't just wake up one day and rally the troops to send everyone to Mars. It's first he found an interest group of rich people who wanted to go to space. And then he was going to try and send mice to Mars and actually do a project instead of just sitting around talking about one theory. And it continued to evolve from there. And I think that's a really important point that, to be a man, you don't just have to go 110% into a direction just because you see, some guy benching 405 pounds on Instagram and you want to dominate in the gym just like him, or you see someone like Alex Ramosi who wakes up at 4 a.m. and just does business for 12 hours straight. It's okay to start slowly heading in that direction of your vision to be able to find it. And the more you head towards that, in my experience, the more you come up with those boundaries and with those, I actually call them floors too, which we can talk about in a second. But how does that resonate with you?
Yeah, man, that sounds about right. I mean, I love that. So if you can even go a little deeper for my listeners, I think they would like to know more. So,
Yeah, and that's a good point. Like for me, the biggest thing is oh man, I just turned 30, so I don't know how old your listeners may be, but when I was in college, I was getting my engineering degree, but I wasn't in love with engineering, and so luckily I ended up being on a lot of different email lists and learning about marketing, and I used some of that to actually build up a nutrition and fitness club. And I turned that into starting my own nutrition business after graduating. And then that led me down the road because I wasn't good at running everything in my business. I ended up just doing the marketing for other people. And so the reason I share that is because I thought I knew my vision at each step, and I thought that was going to be the path my life was on, but being open to the process helped me course correct. And even though it wasn't necessarily planned out and it wasn't a straight shot and it wasn't um, that thrust of a vision propelling me forward in life, it still led to that masculine vision step by step. And just realizing, hey, I don't want to be in a 9 to 5 office position where everyone is just showing up and hating their lives and looking for the weekend and settling for everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then realizing, hey, frankly, I'm not good at owning and operating my own business yet, but I am good at the marketing and the sales material stuff. And I can still help businesses with that and make an income doing that. And then continuing to do that and finding partners and mentors, which I don't know, we didn't talk about that yet, but I think that's a big, big component of developing your vision as well, of having that tangible brotherhood or that network around you that just shows you, hey, like,
I got the chills.
yeah.
It's funny you say that because I have an episode called "Why a Brotherhood Can Save Men's Lives," and I just wanted to interject really quick. And I was like, "Dude, Zach, that brotherhood, I think, just pulls most guys out of a dark place." Because I can speak from experience. You know, this past year, I've been dabbling into a few topics that I think I've got to come back center. As I was telling Zach before the podcast interview, I dove into something a little too dark, I think. And I just had to come back center because that scared the living hell out of me. And full full transparency, you guys, uh, I I wanted to know my Machiavellian side, and I'm about to say this out loud, but it's just like I recently did. Gosh, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just gonna go there. There's a part of Machiavellianism that is seduce and abandoned, and I did that. And I'm being, I fuck. I used to realize, holy shit, I have more of that in me than what I thought. But I told myself, Adam, never lie and never cheat, and I wrote that down because that right there is also a part of Machiavellianism that I fucking don't like, and I don't condone that shit at all. So yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I've gotten into those, I guess those loops or those patterns where when you know your vision, right? Like I remember being in college and I would just wake up and I would spend at least 30 minutes to maybe the first 2 hours of my day. And I would write an old school style email newsletter just for free to build up my college nutrition and fitness club because we just didn't have the budget to get people at events or to get sponsors or, bribe students with pizza to join us. And like you get to a point where it's almost you have the discipline, you have the consistency, you're going hard, you're pushing yourself, you're getting into that flow. And in that case, it didn't happen, but you do have this risk of almost losing yourself in the process and getting so focused on that process that you lose the outcome. I mean, examples later, like I was working as a marketer and copywriter for some large clients, and I would literally spend 12 hours a day working. Like I would this is actually a funny story because I moved with 2 days notice to work with Jason Capital in California, but I had to move from Arizona to California, and I was still processing it, and I was talking to this girl on Bumble, and I said, "Hey, I got this great job opportunity. Um, I don't like I don't know what I'm gonna do yet. Like, I need to move to a different state in like 2 days to start on Monday." And I ended up staying at her place for like a month. It was kind of weird because we didn't sleep together or anything. We just kind of played house until I found my own place. But I would wake up, before sunrise, drive up PCH to Newport, work from, I don't know, like 7 or 8 at night, and then come back. And like, there were times just to get myself through it. I would take like, I remember one night I took like 2 shots of vodka just to calm myself down to sit in front of the computer and like not move and just finish writing um, email campaigns just because that would like numb the voice in my head telling me to stop. And part of it is that you can go pretty extreme where the what is the means justify the ends? No, the ends justify the means. And get into that dark side of yourself. And what I found was the antidote to that was that self validation that you were talking about, where it's like you can, and it comes in different ways, but it's just understanding that who you are and having the goals and having the visions and taking steps towards that is enough. And I like to view it almost in the inverse way as your floors. So it's almost like what's your standard or what's like your minimum acceptable I guess criteria for this thing. And I saw this viral reel of what's that sales guy's name? Elliot something, I think.
Elliot
He's
Holtz?
no, not Elliot Holmes. He's the bald guy who does sales stuff and he wears super tight shirts. And he, whatever his name was, he went super viral because he talked about how all of the salesmen in his business have to have six pack abs because that was the minimum standard he had. That if they didn't have that discipline and that self control and that consistency in their health, then he wouldn't trust them being on the phone team. And it's that might be an extreme example, and you can always raise your standards or your floor over time. But part of this is in everything you do, where it's like, my minimum standard is, hey, if I'm waking up and I'm having breakfast, like it's going to have at least 30 grams of protein in it. And I'm not going to wake up and eat cereal and crash my blood sugar or eat pancakes to do that. And that's a small example, but it could even be with clients. Like I'm not going to take on a client project if it's, under 4K or $5,000 a month or whatever it is. Or I'm not going to let myself drink alcohol at night because when I drink alcohol, it's usually because I'm spending time with people that I don't want to be spending time with, or I'm staying up late, or I'm doing things that I don't want to be doing. And I'd rather get to sleep and relax and be with my lady and do my stuff there. So it doesn't matter what your standards are. It's just having that minimum standard or floor that takes the pressure off of yourself from not even burning yourself out, but going too hard to the point that life becomes unsustainable and you start making that trade of trading your health and trading your sanity and trading what you actually have that's valuable for what you want or aspire to that you think will make you that better person. Does that connect with you?
Yeah, dude, that does. A quick question I wanted to ask you actually is when you had to basically, you were talking about that story where you had to travel over, was it into a different state to meet up? You were going to work with Jason, right?
Yep.
What year was that? I wanted to ask.
That was 2017.
2017. Gotcha. And uh, if you mind, I wanted to quickly ask. You don't have to answer if you don't want to, but
Okay.
what what did you work on with JC on that? I'm just wondering, out of curiosity.
Yes, that was actually a wild ride that doesn't have a short answer. I guess the short answer is that he wanted someone to clone his marketing brain into so he could focus on higher leverage, like joint ventures and managing the team. This was right after he met with Dan Pena and wanted to really scale. So he got an office, he
I
built
love
an
it.
internal team. Like he really wanted to take everything up to another level and bringing me in was the way of kind of cloning his marketing knowledge and duplicating himself there. So I worked on um, affiliates, like we did stuff with Caleb O'Dowd and a bunch of other affiliates. I did funnels. I was like director of publishing, email list management, writing the emails, training copywriters, cold traffic campaigns, building out the chat systems, managing the chat sales teams, just doing a lot of stuff. I eventually became the CRO and then even got made the CEO as JC moved on to other projects and left me to manage the day to day.
That that's fucking awesome, dude. That's fucking awesome. So, circling back to the topic at hand, which by the way, that is quite the story, Zach. But I definitely want to talk to my listeners about setting boundaries, and this is something that I think, in my mind, is number fucking one when it comes to enhancing masculinity. I don't know if you agree, but I just think that like one thing that I've learned in my life is I've actually had to learn this the hard way. Like really, it was the brutally harsh way, like the most brutally harsh way possible. I actually got friend zoned at a young age, and then it went into like a deep dive into where I just was listening to everything I could get my hands on when it came to dating and attraction and seduction, and I realized that holy shit, this is a skill set. This is a skill set, and you know, I knew about the mystery method. I also knew about was it Tony Klink's The Lay Guide, if you know about that one. And
All the deep cuts.
yeah. I also just studied some crazy shit like 48 Laws of Power. I was like, this book is crazy, but and then I realized I was like, this is a thing though, because people do this all the time. And actually, now that I think about it, you know, I recently said on one of my previous episodes called Take Courageous Action Fast that I promote the three words purpose, power, and persuasiveness. And really, what I mean by power is I mean like that power that everyone has, every guy has, is you've got to know every single part of your personality. If you don't, then you're fucked in this dating game. But not only that, you just got to know who you are, like know thyself, as I think one of the wise people said. Was it Socrates or something like that? Someone said know thyself. But it's just like I think that that's really fucking important, because if you don't know yourself, I think that it's going to lead to any type of depression. You're going to feel lost. You're going to feel like you don't have that type of fire in your stomach to aim for your goals. But that's what I really connected to. And and I realized that it's not about a woman friend zoning you. It's not about all these. I mean, look, I will say this though, really quick, guys. If this has ever happened to you, I relate to you, but I want to say this really quick. That, in my opinion, is a blessing. Any any bad thing that happens to you is a blessing, because that motivates you to want to just go into that field and just study it, crush it, just get all of, and even use that fucking anger, that sheer masculine spirit to just crush it in business, in relationships, in everything that you want. And that's just something that motivates the hell out of me. So, but yeah, if you can, if you want to elaborate on that, let me know.
Yeah, well, boundaries are super interesting because I don't think, yeah, I never had an example of when I was necessarily friend zoned. Um, because to me, I always kind of grew up in my own little world. So I would, read a lot of books and, you know, work out after school. And yeah, I was kind of like just a big nerd that spent a bunch of time with myself. Um, and with girls, I was usually too shy. to even like approach them. Or I would just be like very direct, which is a weird balance. But when it comes to boundaries, the biggest place that those hurt me is when I did start to get confident, like late in high school and into college. I was just excited that girls were responsive to me, and that like once you start talking to, the hardest part is getting out of your head, frankly, because like you guys don't have that much competition out there, because most girls, especially if they're hot, like not a lot of guys are approaching them or talking to them or anything like that. And a lot of guys that are approaching or talking to them are just really boring or really gross, um, or a mixture of the two. So when I started realizing that, my mistake was not being stricter with the girls that I spent time with. And I got stuck with girls that like I was really into, my like studying or being in business and like waking up and working, or, hitting my macros and going to the gym. And so some of these girls like were accessible to me, but they didn't take good care of themselves. And it was like, it's not attractive, but yeah, I'm on a date with them, and it's like maybe we can fool around or do something a little bit. But that was definitely the biggest mistake I made when it came to boundaries, like not being selective enough. Um, I think that's important as a guy, just to understand, and I think that's a big piece of the friendship, not friendship, friend zoning as well, like that I've seen, where it's the guys are just way too open or like amenable to the women without getting some sort of investment back. And it's like if you're putting out like so much of your energy and your thoughts and your attention to a girl, and you're not getting what you want back, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's only a bad thing if you're not in touch with the reality of the situation. You don't realize, hey, like, I made my intentions clear, and if she doesn't want to go out or date or smash or whatever your goal is with this woman, then that's fine. And it's different, like if you do want to friend zone girls and build a social circle and play that game on your terms. Um, but the thing that I found is like just being intentional with what you want, and almost filtering girls based on how they best fit into your life. Because there's some girls like, especially when I was living in Arizona, I was really focused on writing and building my business, and I didn't have a lot of spare time, and so I wasn't looking for a relationship. And so meeting those fun girls were great, and having those one night stands or like fuck buddies or those kind of situations were great. But it also came with a little bit of drama, and it came with that flakiness and that need to consistently be like dating new girls and spending some time managing that. You know, in college, like it was kind of a mix, but really, I don't want to get too off point. Really, what it comes down to is know what you're looking for in the moment, and then filtering. Like, okay, maybe this girl is just better as a friend to go out with because she's she's cool and she might be like hot, but you know, you just want to have someone fun to go out with to establish you at bars or clubs or introduce you to a friend. Or this person, like maybe you guys have really good chemistry, and so you do want to have like a friends with benefit situation with her. But maybe you do find a girl that actually hits, your like relationship criteria, and the timing's right and everything works out, and then that's good to go too. But I would say that's the most important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. That ties into something that I didn't think we would really touch upon in this episode, but just having standards, you guys. What that's really what Zach is saying here, and I can strongly relate to that, Zach. I I think that having standards is really fucking important for most guys to have. but also with masculinity and enhancing your masculinity. You know how I talked about internal validation, setting boundaries, um, being your own man, having missions, and knowing your power, knowing yourself. But more importantly, you guys, in my humble opinion, I think that being more masculine is the answer to all of your problems. Like I wholeheartedly believe it. If you catch yourself in that one-nitis scarcity mindset. I had an episode called "There Is No One Girl." Go listen to it. It's really good. It'll get you out of your fucking scarcity mindset. Um, guys, this world is abundant. I really want to say that again. This world is abundant. If there's one chick you have your eye on, like that's what I've had to do myself too. Is like I learned that the hard way. I was friend zoned, right? But in a way, I actually put her like I did the most common thing that I actually say guys not to do now, and that is I put her as my purpose. And that's what I say now. Don't fucking place women as your purpose. Just don't fucking do it. You are your own man. You have your own missions, and you've got to know what you stand for, what you will not stand for, what you will accept, and what you will not accept. And obviously, sticking to your fucking guns, you guys. Don't fucking break your frame for a woman, because that right there is going to like kill all of her respect for you if you fucking do that shit. But more importantly, you guys, I would say that being assertive is really fucking key to enhancing your masculinity. And also something that I touch upon in uh, something that I'm writing right now is mastering your emotions. Like I I think that that drastically improves masculinity or enhances masculinity, as I say. I actually wrote an article on my website called Seven Strategies to Enhance Your Masculine Mindset. And in that article, I say master your emotions. I could not think of anything more masculine, Zach. Let me know if you can elaborate on that. So,
No, absolutely. Like I would, so one thing that's interesting, right, is putting it all together. You're 100% right that your mission, your self-image, your standards, like they all align. Because eventually what happens is, let's just say, almost like painting this picture of you have this vision in the future, you have a goal that you're shooting for, right? You may not necessarily know how to get there, but you know each day you can take another step to it. And so to actually get to that goal, you have to first have the goal and know what that looks like, and also have faith in yourself that you can change to meet that goal. Because there's going to be, if you were already the person who had the goal, you wouldn't have that goal. Like I wouldn't want to buy a Ferrari if I already had a Ferrari, because that's it, that's done. I wouldn't want to be a millionaire if I already had $1 million. But if I have the goal of being a millionaire, then I have to develop the skills and the character traits and the beliefs to get there. And that's, to me, the self image. And now in practice, that self image is set as your new standards. And then your new standards outline the boundaries. So, really simplifying this, if I want to be a millionaire, then let's say I have to be someone who can make a sale a day, right? Make a sale a day, whatever that the numbers add up. And so how do you do that? Well, you have to be consistent. You have to be disciplined. You have to be organized. You have to be persuasive. You have to be persistent. And so that becomes your new standard. Like you are a disciplined person. You wake up at this time. You have your schedule this way. You make these phone calls. You organize yourself that way. You eat these foods so you don't pass out at 3 p.m., you know? And then anything that interrupts that is a boundary. So if you have, a girl who wants to party with you until 2 in the morning, 3 nights a week, because I don't know, she's a bottle girl or she's in college or like whatever the case may be, that falls below your standards, because that's a girl that's just taking you away from your vision. And understand, not only is there abundance in your life of women, of money, of opportunities, but there's abundance because there's only one of you. So you are actually the scarce resource. You only have so much time in your life. You only have so much attention. You only have so much energy. And so if you're pissing away all of these resources chasing girls that are actually making you, more tired, more distracted, more emotional, then you're just gonna end up getting further away from your goals
Mm.
and being more upset with yourself and feeling more shitty because you're not staying in integrity with your actual values, your personal values. And the emotional aspect of that is, I think a lot of it's connected to change of just, hey, sometimes it is uncomfortable to be a man. Sometimes you're going to feel things and you need to stay on that straight path, and your emotions will want to make you waver for it. It's almost like the yin yang of masculine and feminine, where if you can feel the emotions and you can be in touch with them, and we're not talking about suppressing emotions, we're talking about as that masculine man being the captain of your ship over a sea of turbulent emotions and understanding how to adjust the sails and the rudders to be able to chart your course as best you can with those emotions in your life, because you're not just going to turn into a robot. That's going to cause more emotional issues for you.
I love that analogy, dude. That's fucking brilliant. I think that's a great point to wrap up this podcast on, because I have a little under 2 minutes left here on my time. And honestly, you guys, just remember, I wholeheartedly believe that the more masculine you become, the more you focus on yourself, the more you place your purpose as number one, and you set those firm boundaries. Because you guys, I'm going to say this again, as I say all the time. You've heard in my episode to Next to Your Masculinity, feminine energy is designed to test boundaries. Never fucking forget that. Okay? They will test you. Not only will they test you, they will find your deepest insecurities and fucking test you there. And they won't fucking quit. And you have to be man enough to show them that, yo, chick, I will not fucking break and fall into your fucking frame. Okay? It's that simple. So, with that said, here, I'm actually going to wrap up this podcast. Zach, I appreciate you coming onto the Masculine Mindset Show. And by the way, as I will always promote Limitless Nootropics, because that shit helps you focus. Really, it gives you singularity of focus, which is what we all are aiming for. No shiny object syndrome. I'll see you guys on the next episode.